It's almost the size also of a cabin trolley. So also height-wise, that works pretty well here. So one of the improvements definitely here with the new generation.
So setting off here in the 2023 Integra. So the first thing you notice about this, well, you have a really nice slow seat. I've only driven this car in tour mode. I've been driving super slowly so far to preserve my first acceleration reaction here. But just setting off here in the Z06, you know, you actually have surprisingly good visibility for a car this slow too, like any other C8. I've just always been pretty impressed that, you know, it really drops down nicely in the front, so you can actually see where you're going really well, which is important, especially whenever you're doing any kind of sporty or track driving. You know, good to have that better visibility. And otherwise, like, with the magnetic ride control here, you know, it really does a good job of keeping everything really nice and smooth. This one, thankfully, doesn't have the Z07 package. That does make things even stiffer. But this, you know, for all Z06s, does have a little bit of a stiffer suspension setup. The springs are about 30% stiffer, and of course, the damper tuning is unique here for the Z06 as well. But you know, so far, just again at low speeds, you know, on pretty nice roads, so far it's not, you know, any more uncomfortable than I remember the C8 being. Another thing I'm noticing about the Z06 here that is different from a regular C8 Corvette is that the dual clutch transmission isn't quite as smooth as a regular C8. Obviously, it has more power to deal with. You know, I can definitely feel the engagement points. It's one of the rougher dual clutches I've experienced recently. This is a very racy, you know, sporty car, so I think for most people that'll be okay. But it's just one thing that I've noticed that really stands out is you really feel that engagement point. And I think part of that is just the fact that they have beefed everything up. It's got an extra clutch plate in there. They also beefed up the transaxle and everything so that it can handle the extra power, the extra performance. So that's just, I guess, par for the course here for this transmission, but it's just not going to be as smooth as like a PDK or something like that.
That's 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and wow, extremely silent here at high speed. That is a noise level that other cars would have at half the speed. Incredible. Still quite stable in the sports mode. The air suspension is also a little bit stiffer, so I have more control, and the rear axle steering is going the rear axle in a parallel direction in the front wheels to give more stability. And here also when we do lane change at higher speeds, it doesn't shake up too much. Still the typical flying S-Class feeling is still present. Now hard on the brakes, you feel the weight of the car and definitely feel it's not sitting too low.
Quick launch control. Here we go. Woo! Back down. Wow! All right. Oh man, I gotta go into manual mode and do these shifts myself. So the Z06 has a 5.5-liter flat plane crank V8 engine. It has 670 horsepower, 460 pound-feet of torque, which is actually 5 pound-feet less than a regular C8 Corvette. But it doesn't matter because you have 180 extra horsepower over a regular Corvette. So 0 to 60 time, car and driver got 2.6 seconds. And I believe that from my launch. I'm sure it wasn't an optimal launch that I did, but I mean, it is very, very fast and very, very impressive. And this vehicle only weighs 3,666 pounds. So, you know, it's, you know, not like insanely light, but it's light enough that that much horsepower with a dual clutch transmission and a launch control is definitely going to be enough to get you there to, you know, those very fast acceleration times. Quarter mile time is also fast, 10.5 seconds at 131 miles per hour. And also the way it deploys the power is so impressive too, because, you know, like I had the wheel turn, they're accelerating at, you know, pretty heavy throttle, and it still was gripping flawlessly, no grip issues whatsoever. And part of that is because you have, again, 345 wide tires in the back there, so no issues with grip. And by the way, the exhaust is now in just the sport mode. But the crackles and the pops, the multi-mode exhaust, of course, but got some tight corners here. Wow, just explodes out of the corners. The grip is impressive, even just with the Pilot Sport 4 tires you have on this. If you want to go for even more aggressive grip with the Z07 package, you get Pilot Sport Cup 2 tires, and they're the ZR compounds. I mean, really aggressive. That also gives you even more stiffer damper tuning. It's 40% stiffer than a regular C8 versus 30% in this. But anyway, first gear. This much horsepower to accelerate. You know, I think it's really kind of deceiving almost at the specs, because it is definitely so much higher performing, especially in those upper RPMs, than what you'd expect from something with this much horsepower. I mean, way faster feeling than a Hellcat, which has more horsepower, for example, and things like that. So don't get hung up on the horsepower number not being sky high like we saw with the C7, which had, you know, higher horsepower numbers. This is hands down more thrilling to me, at least. And even just those lower RPMs, you don't even have to ring it out all the way. Just those lower RPMs are also really nice sounding. But the upper RPMs are definitely where all the magic's at. But one thing I love is that you can actually enjoy the higher RPMs, because it has nice short gearing that you can, you know, rev out second or third or whatever, and you're not going at insane speeds. And so unlike stuff like the Shelby GT350, for example, which really has tall gears, that's a joy to ring out as well with that insanely high revving engine and that. This, I can actually, it feels torquier than a GT350, and it also just, you can actually exploit those higher RPMs more so, I think, than you can that. Obviously, it's different. That's a manual versus this having 8 gears to choose from here with a dual clutch. But, oh man, yeah, this thing is unreal. And also, with the aerodynamics package you have here, you get double the downforce of a regular Z06. It's like 760 pounds of downforce at like 186 miles per hour or something like that. You know, some irrelevant number unless you're racing, really. But, you know, gives you the awesome looks, but does give you a little bit of extra downforce there. Yeah, we got some more nice corners coming up here. And I'm just leaving the window down because this exhauster sounds too good to not listen to it. But man, this thing is just so impressive with the handling. So in addition to the, you know, pretty low curb weight, the insane grip, which can get even grippier again with that Z07 package, there's also really impressive brakes. So you don't get carbon ceramics as standard, but you get carbon ceramics as an $8,500 option, which this car does have. Now without the carbon ceramics, you would have 14.6-inch rotors in the front, 15s in the rear actually, and there's 6-piston brakes in the front Brembos and 4 pistons in the rear. Now when you go to this carbon ceramics, you go up to 15.7-inch rotors in the front, 15.4 in the rear, and you know, either way, very impressive braking. But I'm happy to have the carbon ceramics with a car that's this fast. Probably not necessary, but
hey Mercedes. Hey Mercedes.
How can I help?
Start the wave massage.
I'm starting the wave massage.
Thank you, Mercedes.
You're welcome.
Whoa! Didn't expect that. Thank you again. Interesting. That was very well programmed. Here in the tunnel you can see ambient lighting, which is really top of the segment. There is one vehicle that is even better than this one here. It's the Mercedes EQS, the electric S-Class, so to speak. You will find a full review of that on AutoGuFuel soon when we launch this video. And when you watch this video here just a couple of days later, then it's already online. You can check out the EQS full driving review here on AutoGuFuel. This looks so amazing, and of course I picked the Thomas blue color right here. So this engine here, in this case inline 6-cylinder, doing a fairly good job. It's not the most emotional engine, so let's say the BMW inline 6-cylinder, for example, feels way more emotional. I'm really looking forward to the comparison of the Porsche. Assistance systems work really flawlessly here. The most elaborated one, keeping the distance to the car in front of me. There's also the sign, like, you know, an indication in the head-up display in front of the driving car, but that's actually useless. But the true really important thing is it's basically driving for itself. You're supposed to keep your hands on the steering wheel at all times. It's level 2. Level 3 autonomous driving will be possible, both for the S-Class and also for the Mercedes EQS. We will soon show a showcase of that as well. It's very interesting. Then you can actually take your hands off the steering wheel here. Still meant to be kept your hands on, but see how smooth actually the car follows everything. And then let's have one more acceleration in the sports mode from 90 kilometers an hour when we're already at speed. Woo! 150, 180, and go up to 100 kilometers an hour once again. Sports mode again giving me a little bit more feedback. And here in the high-speed corner, lane change, yeah, you feel the weight of the car indeed. Interesting that it has the feature here that it pumps up the outside bolsters of the seats each. So when I do a right turn, it pumps up the left bolsters to keep me better in the seat. Of course, you're also on the animal skin surface, you slide around a little bit more. And once again, the noise insulation of this vehicle is just phenomenal. That's really amazing. And wow, such effortless driving at higher speeds here with the S-Class. That's something about it. It has, yeah, probably the best noise insulation overall on the market. And one of the reasons is that they already apply dampening material to the raw chassis. And that's a very interesting technology, and then it kind of like evolves, you know, already during the raw chassis and painting process and so on. So yeah, the side effect is that we hardly hear anything of the engine, and they also didn't go for like, you know, a sound actuator that really, you know, screams all out in the way that comes into the cabin.
All right, so Chevy says they could do, or this car is capable of doing 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. Now, obviously, I got 3.2 on that first run. It is relatively cold out here. It's about 55 degrees. We are on our compound tires for this thing, so I'm not going to push it quite as hard as I would if I was back in my home area, but this is my first time behind the wheel of the new Z06, and when I first had a chance to drive the C8, the Stingray, that car really blew my mind because it headed in a direction that Chevy needed to go to basically give the Corvette even better performance, and now we've got the car that has the engine that everybody's been waiting for. This is a bespoke engine, that's Chevy's words, for the Corvette, the first time ever. It's a naturally aspirated 5.5 liter LT6 V8, revs to 8,600 RPM. And this thing literally wails. It doesn't sound like a Corvette at all. And that's kind of the beauty about the new Z06 is it feels exotic. It feels like an American version of a Ferrari 458. In fact, the engineers tell me that they benchmarked the 458 when they were designing this car. So, I mean, that's a pretty lofty benchmark, and the fact that we're even talking in the same realm, a Corvette with a Ferrari or a Porsche GT3, this is what the Z06 is going to compare with. They went back to a naturally aspirated engine for this model. They want this to be the most track-capable Corvette ever. And I'm going to be driving this vehicle out on a track later. I may or may not have time to actually get some filming of it, but out on the road here, this car feels special. It has all the engine noise from the back, and because it's that new flat plane crank engine, which is dry sump lubrication, it's direct injection, it is a gem. It literally is a new high revving engine, a V8 engine, which Chevy claims is the most powerful production V8 ever. Now, when they say most powerful production V8 ever, they don't mean horsepower per liter, because the 458 Speciale made more, but this has 670 horsepower, which is about 110 more than the 458. And you have to give GM credit there, because where are they going to go after this? I mean, they're going to probably go electric, and this is where I think that the new Z06 is going to become that super highly sought after version of the Vette, because of this engine with this dual clutch. It just makes you want to do bad things in this car. Like, it edges you on to go faster. It literally is giving me that tingling sensation in my spine. All right, so on that run, we got 2.9 seconds, and keep in mind, I'm in the heavier convertible. I also, you can't see, but I have a co-pilot next to me, so 2.6 is what Chevy claims. 2.9, I'll take it. That's absolutely insane. And I switched the mode to track mode there. I got the launch control to work there. That launches almost like a Porsche.
Up 200 kilometers an hour, 125 miles an hour, and that exhaust was really way louder, but also the wind noise is way louder here at the same speed. So definitely as for noise insulation, the S-Class is way ahead, but the Porsche feels sportier and more engaging. The suspension, although it's an air suspension here as well, way stiffer, way lower. The vehicle have more contact to the ground. This now feels like being on the racetrack, whereas the S-Class keeps up the comfort also while driving fast. This one's so much more engaging. It's completely different feeling. Now hard on the brakes. I could really imagine like driving it directly on the racetrack. That's the thing. This car is already or still racetrack proof, whereas the S-Class is really, way distancing itself from that. Normal driving mode, then the air suspension does a softer job actually. But in general also, you feel you're sitting lower in the vehicle, the seats are way stiffer. That's a minus point because I think the seat ergonomics are way worse here in the Porsche. So although this is supposed to be one of the most comfortable Porsches, I don't think they did a good job on the seat ergonomics. The Porsche Cayenne is to me the most comfortable Porsche. You have a very good seating position there, upright, and also seat ergonomics is good. The Panamera, not really. And here you can also see there's massive difference in ambient lighting. That's where the S-Class is ahead. You see it more like in the down area and so on. So especially at night, the S-Class is just more spectacular and fancy. The fancy factor definitely plays for the S-Class. The sportiness factor here plays for the Porsche. And steering, by the way, is a little bit more precise, crisper. But if you compare this one here with other Porsche model steerings, you still have to steer more here in the Panamera. So they also set kind of an emphasis of more comfortably running straight, which is okay again for this model here. But that makes also the difference in steering not that huge as it would be between other Mercedes models and other Porsche models, for example. That's a very interesting point there. But a major difference here, for example, also when going off the mountain motorway here, and now we're here with quite a good amount of speed here in the corner, and where the S-Class felt really heavy, this one also doesn't feel light, but awesome. Accelerating out of the corner with the rear wheel biased all-wheel drive, rear axle steering. This is one of the most fun luxury sedans, even here in the executive version. With the shorter wheelbase, it does feel more agile and is of course more racetrack ready. But still here with the long wheelbase, it's a lot of fun to drive. So if driving fun is the thing for you, then the Panamera is ahead. If more the comfort is something for you, then the S-Class is ahead. Here, the cruise control. We also have one with adaptive function, so keeping the distance to the car in front of us, and it's also with the active lane keeping assist. Let's see how that reacts. Very smoothly as well. The steering wheel is hardly moving at all, but still keeping me here in the lane. Please take over steering wheel comes earlier this warning than with the Mercedes S-Class. That's also interesting. Both score very good results here in the assistance systems, and they both also are equipped with blind spot monitors. Let's see if we can induce it right here. There's another Mercedes S-Class, actually the older one. Yeah, there's the blind spot. No, it's an E-Class. They really look the same from the front. The older ones, please. So Sport Plus mode, then from 80 kilometers an hour, high speed. Wow, how well this car behaves here at higher speed in the corner. How settled it is on the road. That's truly amazing. Wow, what a high-speed performance. That's just marvelous. But again, you hear that's way louder in here. The question again is, what is more important to you? If anyone will drive these speeds here, oh, we see how bumpy it gets relatively in comparison to the S-Class. So both air suspension, but so completely different settings that the Porsche is more like bop, 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 bop in the sports mode, and the S-Class, when you drive over some waves with the S-Class, it's more like it's so, yeah, it is so interesting to experience these differences here between these two vehicles. And of course, the last discipline for the day with the Porsche is driving up Autogefühl's Peak. And now driving up Autogefühl's Peak with the Panamera 4S, coming out with the rear axle steering. Here we go, very precise at the steering, and you see also some cars have that thing that the steering snatches back, you know, automatically steers back by itself in the corners. Here it doesn't do that, it stays so calm. That's also what I love about the Panamera. Again, in comparison to other Porsche models, it could be a little bit more responsive and progressive. Still has this really nice and precise feeling. Here, going back to the normal mode, keeping it a little bit calmer while we pass these workers there on the side and these two houses. And then when we go a little bit louder and more agile again, once again back Sports Plus mode, it shifts everything, the whole characteristic of the car towards sportiness. And here we can really play out the differences. This is where the Porsche is so much more agile than the S-Class.
Nice tight corner there, and really did a good job of staying flattened down. I mean, it is so flat. The regular C8 was already really, really good. I think this just adds a little bit of extra edge. The C8 felt a little safe at times for the regular version, and this, you know, being a little bit